Flying back in time. This is the Jermaine Plane.
Oh, yes. Hello, it's Jermaine here, and welcome to another episode of the Jermaine Plane podcast. I got to say thank you so much to everyone who's listened to the past few episodes. This is such a new environment for me, going from radio to podcasting, and I got to say the feedback has been so wonderful. And please feel free to give me all the feedback you can. I want to be absolutely the best I can at the Jermaine Plane on Instagram and on TikTok. This one is a little different. Most of my guests are legacy artists. They've made the biggest and best throwbacks of the past few decades, but I wanted to try something different this time. And when I met Venice Qin, a new and upcoming artist, I saw so much of myself in her. I met her when I was hosting the red carpet for MJ the Musical here in Sydney, and I got to listen to her music, I got to watch her interviews, and I just became obsessed. It all felt quite familiar. We spoke about her childhood, where she was once a shy kid who barely spoke and somehow grew into this bold, fearless performer. And when I tell you, Venice has done it all. She's done classical music, musical theatre, songwriting, bassoon, and now she's releasing the most multi-genred pop bangers with heart. You're going to love her. Her new single, New Woman, it's an anthem for anyone who's had to rebuild, reframe, and rediscover who they are. Venice is about building a community around self-expression, fluidity, and belonging. And this chat for me is grounding. It's inspiring and it's joyful. And if you've ever felt in between, like you don't quite fit anywhere, I feel like this chat is for you. This is my chat with pop artist Venice Qin. Enjoy. Look, this is actually quite a unique interview for me because the Jermaine Plane, the show, I'm usually talking to legacy artists, right?
Yeah.
It's a throwback radio show, a throwback podcast. But I have to say that when I heard about you and I listened to your music and I watched your interviews and got to know more about you, I saw a lot of myself in you. So, and I think listening to your music and really getting to know you outside of this show, I really want to unpack and uncover why I see myself in you. If you're prepared to go on that route with me, I would love to ask you some questions about your upbringing and your childhood and everything like that to really discover who you are. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, of course. That's so sweet. That's the nicest thing I've heard all month.
Oh, really? Okay, good. Oh, gosh.
I think that's such a compliment to think that you see parts of yourself in me and that I can find these parts of myself in you.
I do. So I would love to know firstly, how did Venice Qin discover music?
I just always really loved music. My mum used to play CDs in the car, and even before I was really consciously listening, I would sing along. Apparently before I spoke, I would just yell in my crib, and that's how she knew I was awake.
Okay, right.
And then I think it was High School Musical that made me realize that, I want to do this. And I actually really enjoy singing, and this was before I knew I was any good at it. Like genuinely, I think one of my favorite parts about seeing what I do now is that it came from something innate. Like I loved it before I knew I was okay at it. And I think that's something, a lot of people, they love their career and they love their passion because they like, because people think I'm great at it. And so it makes my ego feel good. Whereas I feel like I just genuinely love it. Like even if I was awful, I might not sing as much in front of everyone, but I would still be the biggest music fan.
And what was that moment in High School Musical that made you go, I want to do this?
I mean, you've seen High School Musical, right?
Yes, I actually, we had High School Musical in at school. We had the school production of High School Musical, and I was about 15. Unfortunately, I got the role that wasn't written for the movie; it was written for the musical. His name was Jack Scott, and get this, he was a radio announcer. This is already something in common that we have, is that I had no aspiration for radio or for being behind a mic. And when High School Musical, the school production happened, they casted me as the radio announcer. Isn't that wild?
That's manifestation.
That is manifestation. We were meant to meet, Venice. This was meant to happen. So anyway, sorry to talk about myself. So High School Musical, what was the moment when you went, you know what, this is what I want to do?
I grew up wanting to be Gabriella. I think I spent my dad, up until the moment when I was maybe till about 10 years old, my dad would say, yeah, Venice is going to go to Stanford and she's going to study maths.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
that happened. But did not happen. But I loved it so much, and I would sing all the songs. Obviously, I turned into a Sharpay instead of a Gabriella. I anticipated.
Absolutely. I can see that with your fabulous outfit right now.
Thank you. I sang Gabriella's song When There Was Me and You for my primary school idol competition.
Okay.
It was the first and only time my school ever did that. At the time, I was about 6, 7 years old. Up until that point, and nobody believes this now, but I was so shy.
Really?
I would not talk.
Okay.
And I would get bullied a lot because I didn't talk. And so when you don't talk, you're extremely vulnerable. And I guess I have like the opposite of like RBF. And
RBF, what's that?
Like the resting
Resting bitch face.
yeah.
You can say it. You can say it.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Sure. But I have resting sad face.
Okay.
I think that makes you really easily targeted.
Okay.
And anyway, I sang the song. I nearly didn't do it. I nearly just sang something with my friends instead, but my mum forced me to do it. And she was like, "You'll love me later for this," even though I cried. I was like, "No, I don't want to do this." But I ended up winning the whole thing and beating all the older kids just by singing my little High School Musical song. And my 2 front teeth had just come out.
That's so cute.
I wore like a little headband with my hair and pigtails. And it was after that when I won that I all of a sudden got so much respect from people, which I feel is kind of controversial because I feel like people should be nice to you no matter what. But it really put me in a better place in my life and gave me confidence more than anything. And I think it's really that adding on top of how much I love music, I think it was the feeling of, oh, this makes me feel like I am someone and I can be whoever I want to be and put me in more in control of my own life.
Wow, what a powerful moment. Your first interaction with performing and music, and there was so much self-affirmation in that one moment at such a young age.
Yeah, crazy.
What was the next step?
I think I'd already been doing singing lessons casually and I'd started piano. And then I think I got a new singing teacher because we were like, time to level up.
Yeah, okay. I love that. Glow up.
I started going to do singing competitions in my local area. And oh man, I was a competitions kid for at least, I'd say 5 to 7 years of my life. I did singing competitions, speech and drama competitions. Because I'm from Auckland, in New Zealand, we did, I think my first competition I ever did was West Auckland Performing Arts Competition.
Okay.
And I went in for 2 classes. I sang Good Morning Baltimore from Hairspray.
Oh, fabulous.
And Wouldn't It Be Lovely from My Fair Lady. And my mum and I were like, oh yeah, we'll go, you'll sing. And then we just come home straight after because we didn't know that you had to stay for awards. But my friends did, and we got a text when I got home that I'd won both categories.
Oh my gosh, that is so fabulous! So, and what did someone pick up the award on behalf of you? You know when those artists don't pick it up at the Grammys or whatever. Was it that kind of treatment?
I think so. I mean, they got my prize money and my trophy for me, so love that. And yeah, and then from there, I think that was more reaffirming that like, oh yeah, you know, there's a space for me to do this, and I really enjoy it, and honestly, being in competitions really toughened me up and really taught me a lot about just how to be a good human and how to just, you know, go on the whim and do it. Sometimes I'd go on stage and I'd be sick all the time. And you'd make friends, but then have them all be a bit shady around you.
Yes.
If, you know, say they had won and you hadn't, or vice versa, and you'd learn how to handle that. But I loved competitions. And I mean, I'm not a very competitive person, which is the craziest part, but I loved what that era of my life gave me.
It's almost like in your childhood, you said that you were kind of made fun of or bullied because you were so silent. And then now all of a sudden you become this performer. And these competitions are giving you, I'm not saying validation, but it gives you a reason to want to perform more and more, right? Would you say that the competitions, you said it's toughened you up. Tell me how.
Of course, I think I'm good because I believe in myself and I know what I can do, what I can improve on and things like that. But you know that just because you might think you might have performed the best that day out of everyone doesn't mean that you'll win. And you also learn things like, how to prepare, all these songs. Like I'd go in and I'd have 6 songs prepared to do boom, 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 boom. You learn how to interact with the accompanist because you'd have the piano accompanist that you'd work with nearly a different one every competition, and how to engage with them. And sometimes they'd give you feedback and how to take those feedbacks and things like that. And yeah, I just really loved it. And I think it's just that confidence it gives you.
Was the interest of being, I'd say, a pop star? I don't know exactly how you'd identify as yourself now when it comes to the music you do, because it's so multi-genred. But where was that moment that you went, hang on, I actually want to do this. I want to make pop music. I want to be a star.
My story is honestly so whack because
It's never whack. You have such an interesting personality, the way you present yourself.
I think if you just look back, at my story so far, I think it just shows that I, up until about 3 years ago, was so indecisive.
Yeah.
Because I always knew I wanted to do music, but up until 2020, I didn't know whether I wanted that to be in the musical theatre space, in classical, in jazz, or in pop.
Okay, right. Interesting.
Because I picked up bassoon in high school.
Oh my God.
I only get more bizarre.
Just listening to your music and looking at you now, and then you played the bassoon?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I picked up bassoon because I got a scholarship for the high school I went to in Auckland. And when I got there, because I think they saw, one of the singing teachers at the school told me years ago, and this was really cool. He said that when I went in for the scholarship audition, he thought, most kids who get the scholarship are, like a virtuoso at piano, stereotypical Chinese person.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Or they're like incredible at one instrument and, But they said that they saw in me, because I think I did guitar and singing, and I'm not that great of a guitarist, but they said that they saw me that I would work really, really hard, and they had a feeling that give her a couple years and she's going to be, at top level game for a high school student.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And it was cool when I got my later years. He was like, I'm glad that that's happened, which was a really special feeling. And I'm very grateful to him for saying that. Anyway, I got the scholarship and they were like, piano's not a great instrument to play in all these ensembles in, because everyone can play piano and there's only one piano, and piano's not in every orchestral piece. So they were like, our bassoonist is in the final year high school. She's about to leave. Can you pick up bassoon so that we still have a bassoon player coming up? And literally, I had played it for maybe 2 weeks and I was already put into, I think, the orchestra. Terrifying. I could play one note.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Wow. And so you're saying that during COVID, that's when you kind of had this fork in the road where you're going, do I choose pop music? Do I choose classical? Where do I go?
Well, actually, this again, so bizarre. I was so into musical theatre and acting that my family and I traveled to England for a month and a half in December, just before COVID, and I auditioned for about 8 to 10 musical theatre and acting, and I think I did 1 or 2 songwriting programs as well, because I was like, oh yeah, kind of into this.
Yeah.
Because I had written a song back in high school for a devised production. I went away to Europe during the rehearsal period, which is so bad to me. But when I came back, everyone was singing my song. And I was like,
oh, wow,
people like my song. And by that point, I'd released my song, Found Myself, on Spotify. And that was doing pretty well considering I did nothing to promote it. And so that gave me a bit of, feeling good about this area. But I was still really into musical theatre and classical. So I auditioned for all these universities, very elite programs. I got into a couple of them. But when I was there, I was like, I don't think I'm made to do a show 8 times a week. I really respect and I love people who can. I love MJ the Musical. I love Stan, all of that work, but I just don't think it's for me.
Yeah. That's you stepping into your power. That's you stepping into deciding what your journey is. And I got to say, I think that you've made the right decision.
Thank you.
Now, let's talk about the music that you make now. I've done quite a bit of research on you. I want to talk about your song Alien. The one thing that I can really relate to you on is this idea of micro belonging that you were talking about, especially growing up as Chinese, right? You're saying you're Chinese, right? And for me, I grew up as Burmese and Mauritian, and I think we're part of a generation where we are kind of in between cultural acceptance, cultural pride, where we have to become... I'm trying to think of the right way to say this, because you were saying how when you were in rooms, it was kind of like the elephant in the room is that you were the Asian person in the room.
Yeah.
And then when you would go to China, you would kind of be looked down upon because you couldn't speak Chinese properly or it wasn't as fluent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me more about that, because I think that's where I can relate to you a lot.
Yeah.
Is, you know, you were doing all these things, you were doing competitions, playing the bassoon, all of these things. And this was in New Zealand, right? So tell me more about that.
Well, firstly, I love hearing about your heritage. That sounds so cool.
It's such a mixed heritage.
No, it's giving you some wonderful genes.
Oh,
I mean, just look at you.
Oh my gosh.
Anyone who's listening to this, you need to check out the visuals so you can admire how gorgeous the specimen that I'm like looking at right now. You need to be looking.
Venice, thank
missing
you.
out.
Thank you so much.
I think it took me a long time to realize what was going on. Because I think, you know, as you grow up, you're not noticing all these social, you know, games and effects that are actually being trickled down to you through the system. And New Zealand is a wonderful multicultural place. I mean, so is Australia. But I think that, you know, as I said, we're part of a generation where, for example, my parents immigrated to New Zealand. And I was born and raised in New Zealand. I do really identify with the Chinese part of my culture. But of course, I've always known from a young age, I'm never going to speak absolutely 100% immaculate, perfect Chinese. I'm never going to have the same thoughts and beliefs as a Chinese person just because I didn't grow up there. And I mean, I go back to China every 2 years to go see family. My dad lives there. But you always just notice, you know, for example, China's also just like complicated because so many dialects, and my Mandarin is good. I'm fluent and I can talk to people fine, but I'll never be able to speak, for example, my mum's dialect.
Yeah, right.
And
gotcha.
It just you feel kind of out of place. And even within my family members, sometimes it's hard for them to understand my point of view and my perspective. And then it's interesting when you come back to Auckland, I do feel at home in Auckland. Like, Auckland will always be my home for me. But there are, of course, moments where even the thing, you know, with school lunchboxes, when you're little, you look back and my mum never gave me rice. She wasn't that Asian parent. But she, you know, wouldn't really give me the stereotypical Kiwi food.
I resonate with you on that.
Yeah.
Because that was my childhood too.
And it never made me feel weird. But now that I look back at it, we used to do, you know, lunchbox swapping back in the day.
Yeah.
And I never told my mum this, but people would always fight me for my food.
Really?
Yeah, there were these, like, I think cracker things that my mum gave me.
Yeah.
They were a position of power. I could get whatever food I want. That was like the highest tier of food trading. I had that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mum. But things like that, I remember even it's like all the little things.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I remember once a teacher said to us, like, I want you to go home and look at the blocks of butter and how they measure them in the, like, 50 grams, you know, in those lines. And she was like, that's your task. You have to go home and check this out. And I go home and I'm like, we don't do that.
We go by feeling. Is that what it is? We go by, that'll be enough, just a spoonful?
We just don't buy that butter.
Oh, right, okay.
No, and like, we don't, like, an Asian food, we don't butter.
Yeah, right, okay.
And so I went home and I was like, I can't check this out because it's not in my culture to own this stuff. And I'm not going to tell my mom to go to the supermarket just to buy this, you know, big stick of butter that she's never going to have, you know?
Yeah, right. I love your perspective on that, because for me, I took it quite negatively, but I think it's a positive experience for you.
I'd say I feel very mixed about it. At times I feel so sad. Even now, I feel like there are times within my new friend groups here in Sydney and Australia, I just feel so out of place. Especially on just simple values, like, because I do carry I don't know if you feel this, but I feel like I carry a mixture of like Western and Eastern values that I can't explain. Like, why for this thing I believe in this Western way and why for the other I think have a more Eastern mentality. But I just have it and I can't explain it. And then having to try explain yourself to these people is so hard sometimes.
Yeah. Do you think that has an influence in the way that you make your music?
No, absolutely. I think because when you can't find places of belonging that fit you to your mold or anything like it, the only option is for you to make your own way and think, so these are my values and this is the way that I behave and this is the way that I choose to interact with people. and I'm just going to make my own way, and hopefully and my whole project's about, because I never had anyone like me really to look up to when I was growing up, I want to forge ahead and make this community above anything for people, the off chance that people do, think and look, and not necessarily look, well, maybe if they just dress a bit crazy like me, but they feel out of place, that they can look towards my project and feel like, I can do whatever I want. I can forge my own way and create my own identity without having to feel like I'm forcing to be something I'm not.
I love that. What was the inspiration behind this new identity? Because, even when I saw you on the red carpet, I was like, this person is a dazzling identity, a dazzling personality. Who were those people?
I think, I'm a massive Lady Gaga fan.
Oh, so am I.
People like Faye Wong. Faye Wong was someone I listened to a lot in the car when I was growing up, and I, didn't know what I was singing about. I was too young, and I was just mumbling the Chinese words. But
okay.
I think I got older, I researched her, and I was like, she's pretty dope.
Yeah.
And I think I really got into like Caroline Polachek. She's still one of my favorites. Christine and the Queens.
I love Christine and the Queens.
Right.
Oh my gosh, I love them. Yes.
And I think I had this realization recently. My mum really brought me up to listen to divas.
Right. Okay.
I love Whitney Houston, Celine Dion, like Barbara Streisand, even like Dionne Warwick.
Oh, yeah.
Those are my girls. And I think just seeing the power and confidence that they deliver those ballads really gave me a sense of, because I feel like I naturally sing like that.
Yes.
Like I'm not naturally a very soft singer.
Yes.
Like I've experimented a lot so that I can, deliver different tones and moods and things like that. But if you just left me to my own devices, I would just scream all day long.
Well, I think your new song, New Woman, is definitely that vibe. It's a diva vibe. Do you know what I mean? I see a lot of Whitney. I see a lot of Celine. That idea of completely owning your womanhood. Right, would you say?
That's such a big compliment. Thank you.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, I'm looking into your character, the way you've kind of completely developed this identity on your own, right? I feel from the very beginning, as a kid, you really had to kind of prove yourself.
Yeah.
When it came to your mum pushing you to go and do something to really, really prove yourself. Do you think you're there? Or is there more that you want to say or more you want to prove to people?
I think it's armor isn't really the right word, but it's like I think it's a skin you step into every day, and it's never going to be complete, but you're just constantly tweaking at it and trying to add little things to become even more and more this person. I think even like, not to be morbid, but like, at the end of my life, I think I'm still not going to feel like I'm completely there. Because the thing is, I think people are so fluid and life is so fluid and we're always changing. And so that's why I don't think anything will ever feel complete to me, because one day I might feel like, oh yeah, this is who I am. Tomorrow I feel like I could be a completely different person if I wanted to. But I think it's great that I've got really incredible like mentors in my life, I think, who have really helped me develop this person. Like my creative partner and manager, Ben J, really helped me craft this.
Who I love. I know Ben J through Ricky Lee. Because Ben J directed the On My Own music video. Did you see that one? Like Ricky's on a glacier in New Zealand. Oh my gosh, it was brilliant.
Outrageous.
Yes.
Loved it.
Okay, so you credit him for...
Yeah, I mean, he has really taught me so much about visual identity, and because I think he always saw inside me, like internally, who I could be and who I was like fighting to be, but just couldn't quite express it. And he obviously has all these incredible tools and talents, and he was just very generous to give so much of that to me. And so I'll always be grateful to him for doing that for me. But then I even think, it's all the people who've believed in me in my life before I was able to believe in myself. Like these days I've been thinking a lot about my piano teacher who passed away in the past year. And that really impacted me a lot because I joined with her because I was in her choir.
Okay.
I was in the Auckland Girls Choir.
Wow, okay.
And when I met her, she was already, I think, like 92, 93. She was walking around. She was doing all this stuff. She never stopped until the end.
Wow.
And she was someone who was literally my grandmother. I have beautiful grandparents who are in China, but obviously I don't see them a lot because, which is another part of, existing in New Zealand, being away from from your extended family is that, you know, I didn't have a normal relationship with my grandparents or my extended family, I don't think. And so she was my grandmother. Like she came along to my grandparents' day, and she, above anyone, taught me how to work hard and how, like, if you want something, you get it. And she said to me, and I thought of this actually today when I got up at like 5 a.m. to do my hair. She said to me, the only way to make the day longer is to get up earlier.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
this morning as I got up early, I was like, I'm making the day longer.
I was actually going to ask you a question, but I think you've kind of answered it, but I want you to touch on it more, is how do you come back to yourself? So when things get loud or when you feel stretched in between expectations, places, you move from New Zealand to Sydney, would you say that your piano teacher helps you come back to yourself?
Absolutely. I think classical music really grounds me and reminds me of who I was and who I'm becoming. And so I think going back to classical music, even that's just like listening something or playing something on keys, it really makes me feel good. And even just, I think I'm really realizing as I get older, I sound like I'm not old. But
You're reflective. You're reflective is probably the better way to say it.
I'm reflective. And I'm sure I'll realize this even more as I, you know, progress in life. But your day ones are your day ones. And my friends from, you know, back home, they really center me like no other. And I think sometimes they really give me the perspective of, you know, like, you've got this. Because I think sometimes, you know, like, for example, just before I wrote New Woman, when I went through a really hard time, all I really needed to hear was my best friend from back home tell me, remember who you are. You've got this. You're going to go forward. Like, you are you. You're like, I had this engraved onto my, one of my earbuds cases. I am Venice MF Qin.
Oh my, hell yeah. I love that.
And every day I wake up and I tell myself, I'm Venice motherfucking Qin. What am I going to do today?
Let's then talk about Sydney. Because you moved from New Zealand to Sydney and you're signed by Sony, which is incredible. And I want to know what your experience is like, because you just touched on it briefly, that there was a time where you needed to be reminded of who you are. You know, what were the setbacks? What were the challenges that you went through?
I look back at it now and I'm like, wow, I really was a badass.
Yeah.
Because when I moved, basically I came to Sydney, I met up with people here for the first time. And then I went back home because I had to. I was like, and I basically was the most annoying person and just complained for 2 straight months about how much I disliked living in Auckland, how much I wanted to move here.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I could, I got my plane ticket. I went over for one trip to, you know, inspect somewhere to live. And I just did it. I moved. I found like a way to make money. Literally did a job interview maybe the day after I got off the plane.
Yeah, right.
Just did it. And I got all my, you know, like the Medicare and things sorted.
All the boring stuff.
Yeah, and I didn't think very hard and I just did it. But I think that's one of the coolest things I've ever done, is I just did not think very hard.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, to be really personal, I just like dived right into it with my, like, you know, dating life as well. Like, I didn't really, you know, like, you know, I'm human. I liked people and I, you know, tested the pool a bit in Auckland, but I didn't really do that much. When I came to Sydney, I was like, I'm by myself. I'm going to do whatever I want. And considering I hadn't really settled here yet, I think I could have been a bit wiser about some of the experiences I went on.
Sure.
Some of them I reminded some of my friends the other day about, like, I went, oh God, I know my mum's going to listen to this and she's really going to hate this. But I went on a hike with someone for the first date.
Oh my gosh.
Such a bad idea. Don't do that.
What, it didn't turn out well?
It led to New Woman like a couple months later.
Okay.
But,
well, the good thing is you're alive. You're alive and you got a brand new song out of it, right?
And at least I look back, I didn't know where I was at the time, but we actually only went to Manly. So we're so fine.
Okay, you're fine. Not like a national park up in the coast.
No.
Or the caves. Okay, good. All right, good. Well, look, hey, I'm happy because a brand new song came out of it. It's beautiful. I love it. Sometimes you have to go through those experiences to get some really good art out of it, right?
Exactly. I love that you get it.
I'm gonna repeat a lyric from your new song, New Woman. You say, "Had to stop and redesign all the memories in my mind, but now it's all crystal clear," which I think is such a powerful line. I think there's release and resolution to it. And I think throughout this show, throughout this podcast, you've shared so much about your memories, your past, and what makes you come back to yourself. So I want to know, what do you want the world to know about Venice Qin?
Oh, well, you actually picked my favorite lyric in the song.
Okay.
So thank you.
Why is that? Why is that your favorite lyric?
I think I love the wordplay on it, like the memories in my mind. I like the and I like this idea of, it makes you think, I looked back on this relationship and I thought, yeah, they were really great. How did I lose this? Like, I'm never going to be this happy ever again. But then I think in a very healthy reflection where you look back and you learn things, you go, actually, a lot of that wasn't it. That was not the way that someone should be treated, like any of it. And so when you look back to it, you have to go through all your memories again. You have to think, actually, this thing that I thought was good, that was shit. This one thing I thought was fabulous, that was awful. And I think being able to do that, it really changes you into a new woman, being able to go back and reflect and realize, actually, the way that I was thinking back then, that's gone because that wasn't it.
That's really mature. That's a very
thanks.
mature perspective, like reframing the past, the memories, so that you can progress into a newer version of yourself. That's really what this song's about.
Yeah, exactly. And I think maybe what I want people, even just to learn about themselves, like, yeah, they can learn about me. That's cool. Let's hang out. Let's,
Let's have some fun.
Let's dance to Gaga together. Love that. Like, for sure, be part of my community, But I think what I want people to know is that they can be whoever they want to be. You don't need to feel defined by your culture, by, what you grew up as, by, what you came from. Like, you can choose a new identity and you should feel all the support from, you should feel support from everyone around you who loves you to be able to do that. And so I think it's less about, what I want people to know about me, but what I want people to know about this community that I'm building, and that if you come and join us, we'll do nothing but love and support you and encourage you to be yourself.
Oh, Venice, I love your attitude and I love your positivity. I love your energy. And I think from this chat, I'm learning more about myself, that it's honestly, because I've always felt quite, I'd say my mindset about feeling different was quite victimizing, the mindset that I have. But seeing the personality that blossoms out of you, the person that you are, the artist you've become, and the way that you really choose ways that are, the routes become unexpected. Right? You played the piano, the bassoon, you were singing High School Musical, and then you become this Lady Gaga-like personality with so much optimism, positivity, and a selfless vocation in some regard to allow people to find themselves through your music. I really, really appreciate that. I admire that from you.
Oh, thank you. I admire you.
Oh, stop.
No,
All I do is just
I do.
ask questions, but thank you. Thank you so much. Venice Qin, her brand new song, New Woman, out now. Please listen to it. Please listen to everything Venice Qin has done. You're going to be huge. And it was an absolute pleasure and honor to chat with you today.
Thank you. It was an honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I've had the time of my life.
Thank you, Venice.
Flying back in time. This is the Jermaine Plane.